It just, it really resonated with me how you said there's no shame in getting help.
There isn't.
And how therapy had worked wonders for you.
Oh, it did?
Right. So why'd you stop going?
Oh, I didn't stop going.
You didn't?
No, I finished.
You finished?
Yeah, I completed the department-mandated anger management and got a certificate to prove it, and also got my Tuesday nights back, so as the kids say, today I'm all Gucci.
Are you? I'm doing the math, and it seems like maybe you stopped going to therapy before you punched the last 3 guys.
Hello, everyone. Today, we're speaking with the talented 911 Lone Star actress, NATACHA KARAM, mother to Cleo.
Yes.
And she plays the badass firefighter Marjan in the hit TV show. So, Natasha, let's get on with this interview. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really good. Thank you for asking.
I mean, have you been busy?
Yeah, I mean, we're coming up to the end of our 3rd season of Lone Star,
Yeah.
so end has been really busy and really action-packed, lots of long days, but I think our finale episode is going to be really special, so it's going to be worth, all the hard work we've put in.
That's so exciting. I mean, there's always something going on with the show. That's really one of the cool things that I love about it. Is like it keeps you on your toes all the time. All the time.
Never know what's next, and if you try, you're wrong.
Yes.
If I try to guess what's happening in the next script, I never get it right. It's
Exactly.
so crazy and so left field, and there's so much room for, in the world of emergencies, there's so much room for like outlandish things to happen, because they do. A lot of the incidents that we have in the show are based on real life things that happen. I think our writers' rooms find these obscure stories and get inspired by them, and we end up having these kind of whack.
I was gonna say the crazy thing is like it's real life, it's based off real life stories.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre sometimes. Like that these things happen, or like it's so strange. Like
life is weird. We want life to be a lot more normal than it is, or a lot more linear than it is. And I think our show reminds us that the world is full of surprises and oddities and weirdness. It's full of it, and our show reflects that.
Yes, and you guys are embracing it fully, which is amazing.
So,
yeah.
I don't think we could do so without embracing the fact that we're being a little wacky and a little weird. You have to lean into it, or it doesn't work.
Oh, for sure. Embracing, and then the audience can feel it too, because it's this is it. Like what you're saying, life is weird. It's stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Let's roll with it. Come on.
Don't ever forget it. Don't ever forget it, or life will remember how weird it is.
Mm-hmm. Now let's dive into Marjan. How would you characterize her character evolution throughout the seasons of the show?
One of the things that I think is so special is Marjan and Paul's friendship. And we've seen that evolve over 3 seasons, and now they're like fortified best friends. And both of them were brand new to a city and a new life and a new firehouse, because we all moved there because Captain Strand wanted us to and incentivized us to. But, that friendship and that bond that they have, I mean, it's like life. The most important things to me are relationships and connection and love and friendship. And so for me, that's something really, really important that's happened in Marjan's journey, is getting to spend more time with Paul, getting to show up for him getting to show up for her, like solidifying that trust and fortifying that friendship for those 2 over 3 seasons. And a lot of people love that relationship. They love that they're just platonic best friends. And to see how deep those roots run is really nice.
You're right. I mean, it's really evident, and the growth between your relationship, it's just so beautiful, and it shows.
I think you have to have a lot of trust. Like, the reason why there's so much camaraderie and friendship in the first place within the whole group is they constantly have their lives on the line. and they have to believe that their teammates have their back. You don't have any time to question, like, do I trust this person? Are they going to be there for me? Like, you can put your life in the hands of all of those people and be sure that they're going to do the right thing. And that creates, it was the same when I was on a military show. There was such an intense camaraderie and friendship between all of the people in that unit. And that's for the same reason. It brings a new level and depth to friendship, to be like, if my life is on the line, I pick you. I pick all of you to have my back, and I don't have time to question whether you do or not. So I think that's really special. That's something that's singular in these high-risk jobs. It's one thing to be in a medical rescue, but it's another thing to run into a burning building
or jump
like, everyone out there,
jump from a bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys embody that as a group, like as a cast? Because it's a show with lots of moving parts, big cast member, and you just have this dynamic, all of you guys. It just seems like a big family.
Yeah, we love each other. We're so lucky. We spend time on the weekends together. We choose to continue to hang out after 14, 15-hour days, 5 days a week. To choose still to be like, I want to see these people at the weekend is a testament to how much we actually enjoy each other's company. And I think that reads on screen too, that we all actually really like each other. There's lots of improv, like little one-liners and things when we do group scenes, because it's kind of starting to become like, life imitating art. We're all friends in real life now. We have 3 years of being in each other's lives, watching people get engaged, watching people meet their partners, watching people buy houses. Like, we're all part of each other's life. And I think we will be for quite a few yees. I mean, even beyond the show, but this level of intensity, the show doesn't seem to be going anywhere, touch wood. So, we'll be there for a lot of those big life moments.
That's amazing. And add to that the pandemic, and you all have that shared experience that you shared with the rest of the world as well.
Yeah, I think some of us came back very different people, or very heightened versions of ourselves, because we spent so much time alone or with our nuclear families, or without all the noise of life and the busyness and the things that distract you from the things that really matter. So I think the silence and the stillness helped a lot of people to find themselves and their values and their priorities. I know for me, I've spent a lot of the last 2 years very, very aware of my mortality. I think a lot about death and how nothing is a given and how every day is a gift. And what it does is it intensifies my want to live, to experience, to see all the things, to smell all the things, to taste all the things. Any part of me that had that like youthful, oh, not me, what's death, is gone. We were surrounded by it for 2 years. And now I know not to take a moment of this life for granted. A moment of Cleo's life, because, little doggies' lives are shorter than ours, which is so mortifying to think about. But at the same time, it's what makes loving them so special. And I want to make every day for her on this earth the best day it can be, the most treats, the most walks, the most scratches, the most snuggles. And the same for me. I'm actively choosing life and choosing joy more than I ever have before. So.
And I love that. That's really beautiful that you said that, because that's also one of the messages of the show. Like, you guys show death and life together, showing it beautifully, fusing it together, and making you realize that death is just there.
I never really thought about that. It happens within the same episode. There'll be something really joyous and life-filled and, people with a tenacity for living. And then later there'll be something to do with death in that same episode, and the pain and the journey through that. Mortality is never far from my mind recently. So, I had to make it through the part which is uncomfortable and really scary and terrifying, and be like, this doesn't serve me to sit around in the misery and fear of death of those around me, of myself, of Cleo. Like, if I'm going to spend this much time in this space, it has to be for a reason or for a purpose. And the purpose is to enjoy living. So I remind myself every time I start to get scared that the reason that I'm scared is probably because I'm not living the way I want to live right now. So get off the sofa, go outside, go meet people, go see friends. You always have time. You have time for the things that matter, right? The whole busy schedule thing, you make time for the things that matter. So I do that very consciously now.
Totally agree. There's always
Yeah.
time for something. You know, like, so I always hear is like, yeah, I'm busy, but you can make time though, if you think about it.
Yeah,
You can take a pause, you know, nothing will crumble or whatever. You can take a pause, make time for your family, make time for your friends,
I
make
think
time for
that's
your
another.
dog.
Yeah,
You know?
that's another thing from the pandemic that a lot of people have learned is all the other stuff, it doesn't really matter. All the like schedule and the busy and the work, if the work doesn't mean something to you and it's just a means of getting by, it's just security and stability, then don't give it more attention than it deserves. And there's a lot more people now turning off their phones at the weekend, not answering emails after hours, realizing that they can do their jobs from home, removing that 2 hours of commuting every day in their life, and taking back their own time, which is really nice to see. I love hearing people be, I don't answer emails at the weekend. I'm like, go you.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Be boundaried with your time.
It's a nice shift that, you know, I think the global pandemic did to us, that it made us realize these things, appreciate the things that we need to appreciate more. And I love that. Now, Marjan's back to her character. Her storyline sometimes like touch on social media and its effects on people's lives personally. Because you're also big in social media, like, you know, you post a lot, you share Cleo's life, fashion, everything. It's fun. But personally, what is your take on it? On how social media is? I know it's a broad topic.
It's
like we can go on and on about it. But
basically. I spend so much time trying to be in the joy space of social media because I also know how terrifying it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend time, you know, I found my thing recently, which is matching outfits with Cleo and being like, I love that. It feels joyous. It makes people smile. I walk around on the streets and people smile. I can reach more people through social media, make people giggle, make people laugh, have that awe moment. And that's great. And I love it. I love fashion. I love playing around. I love what it does for my creativity. But I had to find something that I do that I enjoy to put out on the world on social media. Otherwise, it gets tricky because what's public, what's private, what do you want to show, what's a facade, what's a snapshot, what's just a moment in a day. You know, I don't want to be someone who adds to the damaging illusions that social media creates. You know, I'm so aware and scared for young women and young boys and everyone in between right now because social media can be terrifying. The pressure, the access to so many more people and their judgments on you, and filters and body dysmorphia. And I would be terrified to be a teenager now. I had a hard enough time being a teenager in the world where Facebook was just kind of beginning to be a thing and MySpace was on its way out. And there was this kind of like, oh, I need to make my vacation look super fun. I need to make myself available for people. And I really hope, my hope is that there starts to be more of an awareness and more conversation around the fickleness of social media and just how much of it is the highlight reel and how much of it is contorted, but how like you can't even blame the people who are doing that. Mm-hmm. I don't even know that you can blame the people who are contorting images of themselves and, you know, taking photos against backdrops and pretending that they're on vacation because it serves them. They're playing the same game. It's giving them worth. It's giving them value. And I really hope that people can find other ways to value themselves and that it's not the only thing and that it stops being such a source of affirmation for people. Because if it's not that, it's just a fun place to be creative and you can put your pictures out and you can connect with people. And it is so useful as a resource for certain communities.
For real. I mean, at its core, that's really what it is. I remember when Instagram started, it's like, oh, I can
Yeah.
post photos here. This
Yeah.
could be my portfolio. Or,
Yeah.
like for business people, for solo entrepreneurs, it's like, oh, I can get some work out of social media. That
Yeah.
happens. Um,
Happens
but
all the
like what
time.
you're,
It's great for
Mhm,
connecting. It's not great for human connection. And I think
no. Hmm.
people misconstrue that kind of online connection and, oh wow, people who do the same thing as me and have the same hobbies as me, and I can find people who do amazing hairstyles and hire them to do my hair, and people who do cool nail work, but it's not, the connecting in that way is not the same as soulful human connection.
Yeah.
And if you replace one with the other, you end up in trouble.
You hit the nail in the head. I mean, that's what it is. You just gotta be able to segment it in a way
Yeah.
and be able to find the balance between the two.
Yeah. I think I'm doing pretty good right now. I've definitely had harder times on social media where I don't want to put up that really nice moment from my afternoon because I cried all morning and I don't want everyone to think that it's just that afternoon moment. And
Mhm.
then just too much time in my head overthinking and overthinking. So I try to say the things that I want to say and not say the things that I don't want to say, and just be like, does this look like me? When I look at like my grid, I'm like, is that who I am in the world? Sure, it's definitely who I am. It's definitely a part of me. No one's going to meet me in real life and be like, damn, she's so different to what she is on social media. I mean, you had the experience of
Yeah.
meeting me in real life. I hope that me on social media and me in real life align. That's something that I want, and the more I
Mhm.
hear that affirmed by people, I'm like, cool, I'm on my path. I'm doing the right thing.
Because
There isn't
like,
a good.
mhm. I mean, when I met you in person, it's totally aligned. Like, you're not a
Yeah.
you're not like a different person. Like, oh, who is she? And
Yeah.
and on top of that, you're so much nicer in person, like just as a human being.
Thank
And
you.
I'm gonna say this again. Like I think I already told this to you in person. Like we really appreciated the flower. The flowers
Aw.
that you brought to the whole team. Not It's very rare for people to do that, and you would think that it's a small gesture, but it goes a long way. People remember that. It's like, oh wow, nobody gives little gifts anymore, flowers, and it really touched our hearts. And even up to this
Oh,
day, like those are the things you remember, and that
yeah.
is just a testament of you as a person, as a human being, as an extension of your social media feed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the stuff that people don't get to see. I thrive on that. I love to think like, how can I make people's days better, whether it's one person or a group of people. I try to reserve as much energy as I can for giving. And
Mhm.
I love it. And I feel uncomfortable even talking about it, but I love putting energy behind getting certain gifts for people when it's people's birthdays. I'm always that person who goes like above and beyond. But then once you start identifying as that person, there starts to be a pressure where it's like, oh, I can't forget birthdays because I'm the birthday person, or, and I get like, no, it's supposed to be joyous. And the moment it becomes stressful, let it go. Don't do it anymore, because it
Mhm.
brings me so much joy to be able to look at a person and be like, I see you. And for them to go, you see me, in whatever way that is. I want to show up to a photo shoot and be, I see you, all you different human beings working at the weekend, like on the weekend. I see what you're giving me. I see what we're giving each other. I see what we're creating. Thank you. Because I think once you remove the human beings from the equation and it just becomes industry,
Yeah.
it's a much less joyful place to be. And like I said, I'm trying to just joy. I'm trying to be a magnet for joy. I want as much joy as I can have in this life. There was no short supply of it.
No, it's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
And I've spent so much time in misery and suffered so much in like different areas of my mental health that now, whenever I have the ability to prioritize joy, I will adamantly, vehemently. I'm like, joy, joy, joy. Because there are times where you don't have a choice, where it doesn't feel easy and you can't change your chemical makeup, or it just becomes so much more important in the times that you can to be like, give me all of it. And that whole thing of just seeing people, that's what it is to me, being like, you are a human being, I see you, I hear you, that's And not enough people do that. I spend so
No,
much observing people in space, just diminishing the humanity of others, diminishing the humanity of themselves. Like, what is the point? If we're not all humans and we're not all connecting, what is the point? A life
there's no
of
joy.
yeah, a life of solitude is not a life of joy for me. So
Oh man, that's so beautiful. I mean, that's the core of it. The joy of doing whatever you love, which is like, and then it shows in the show, whatever you're doing, the joy of just sharing yourself to people and the joy of just acknowledging people that they exist.
yeah,
That's a big thing.
that they are a whole ass human being outside of the circumstances that you met them in. You know, every crew member on our show has a family, has a life, has a history, doesn't exist just to light your set, doesn't exist just to brush your hair, you know, and when people start forgetting that, it's really dangerous. You see very dehumanizing behavior happening when this hierarchy becomes a thing for you where, I mean, I've witnessed other people do it, act like that person is only there to do that job. And that's the only space they exist in. Someone might be having an off day. Someone might have had a fight with their partner before. Someone might have, you know, like, and the more you see people as human, the more forgiving you can be of like little mistakes or little things that go wrong, or if someone gets mad at you or has an attitude with you. You don't have to be reflexive and defensive. You can just be like, that's a human being who's probably moving through some shit because they weren't like that yesterday.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And just to not take anything personally in line with that.
Yeah.
Because you just can't, especially in this industry. Like you can't just be like, oh my God, today he's like so snobby or whatever. Again, that person could be experiencing something.
Yeah. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Industry, it becomes very difficult when you try to commodify a human being. So I'm at the beginning of my career. I've been doing this for 5-6 years. The more it goes on, I see the more people try to the more successful you become, the more people try to market and commodify you, but you are a person. And so I have to keep reminding myself of that. If I want to be a product, what is my product? It's being human. It's being relatable. It's being vulnerable. It has to be something other than just being beautiful, because that is hollow and shallow and not guaranteed and subjective. And there's so much. I'm not a product. I'm a human being, you know. So I haven't had too much trouble with it, me personally, but you see it around where people, this, you know, super A-lister celebrities, where you have such an idea of who they are or what they're worth or what they do in the world or what their brand is.
The brand. Yeah.
Brand is like,
it is the brand.
Yeah. I don't want those words thrown around. What's Tasha's brand? Ugh. Being human.
Let's
just that wide.
Yeah, I like that word. Just be human. Just be you, be human.
Yeah.
I love that. Speaking of those things, like it's a challenge for sure, like for people to navigate around that and not be caught up around that, you know, whole vibe. What would you say are the challenges and the highs that you've experienced throughout the seasons of the show so far?
The seasons of this show,
highs and challenges.
You know, I think with all the best will in the world and wanting so much to service the Muslim community, and particularly hijabi women in particular, it was difficult to know in season 1 that we had made some mistakes and to discover that there weren't Muslim women in the writers' room, and running up against like things that were rushed and under time constraints meant that we missed out details that really matter, because I believe as a storyteller in every regard that we see ourselves in the details. When someone tells a story, when someone shares their vulnerability with you, when you watch a movie, it's always the details that make you be like, wow, that's me. That's human. That's not broad brushstrokes.
Yeah.
And I think there was a bit of broad brushstrokes in season 1 that I felt upset about. And there was a feeling of huge disappointment that I had that our show had potentially done the very opposite of what it had set out to do for some people. Because there was a prayer that wasn't accurate because we didn't have a consultant there watching me pray. And that really hurt because I set out, it wasn't me. I don't get to choose. We have got much better as we've gone along. They've hired the Muslim Public Affairs Council. We have Zoom meetings with them, just asking for that and receiving that from the writers' room and our showrunners. And that was amazing to me. I felt so happy and relieved to know that we had these people on our side and that we were using the voices of the people that we're representing. It's very dangerous it comes at a huge cost when you decide to be the voice, when the writers themselves are not the people that they're writing about. So, that was one of the biggest challenges of Lone Star for me. And now I feel such a huge relief and getting to the point in the journey where we have these people on our sides now, and there's all these amazing hijab wearing women, young women telling me their stories and talking to the writers, and we're using that to help in season 4 and in season 3. There wasn't much personal stuff from Marjan, but they were there the whole time talking to us and holding court for ideas that the writers had, shutting things down, encouraging other things. So that was a big one for me. What else? I think my ego sometimes, I try to not, I'm human, I have one. My ego sometimes struggles with, I never get recognized. The amount of times that I've been with Raphael or Brian and someone has asked me to take a photo of them. They're like, I love this show. And I guess it's because of my hair and my accent, but I love seeing people celebrate the show, and I love seeing people be so in love with these characters. But the amount of times that I've had people say to me, like, would you mind taking a picture? Have you seen the show? We love it. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen the show. I'm in it.
Oh my!
I don't have a driver's license.
Yeah.
And Uber to the studio a lot, and there would be a huge billboard outside the studio, and the Uber driver would be like, I love that show. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm in it. Which episode? Every single one. Every single one. So I don't know what it is. I think maybe the hair but now it's just a joke. But at the beginning I'd be so sad. I'd be like, am I that unmemorable? And take it personally.
No.
When it's not. It's not.
No.
And I know that I'm just like, I look different. I talk different, When Raphael or Brian are out in the world, or Julian, they look the same. They are the same. So so that was a funny one. In season 1, I just be like, oh, and now I find it funny. Now I'll be like, do you want me to take the photo? Do you love the show? Do you? What's your favorite episode? And I'll just keep talking. And then Raphael, when I've been out with him, is like, she's Marjan. Don't you want a photo with her?
That's so funny. I mean, partly maybe it's the accent, because when I met you, I was like, oh wow, you sounded different, because your show personalities, your show's character is different.
She's American, yeah.
Yeah. So when that's probably why, but no,
I think I have the hair, no hair, same face.
Same face, for real.
For real. He's so much more of my face when I'm headscarf, because it's really just, there was nothing else. It's all face. But so and the highs of the show, I just love working with everyone I work with. We're such good friends, we've formed such an intense bond. And listen, there's nothing like having security and stability as an actor. Mm-hmm. Being on a show, I am so grateful every day to be employed and to be able to save money, to be able to buy a house. I've been looking for a house for the last year. Can't find one, but at least I'm in the position where I can. Yeah. My whole life has changed because of stability, to not be needing money, and being able to make smart choices and save, and having that, we all got through the pandemic, our cast, with money in our bank accounts, not having to worry desperately about what month we were going to start back, which is a huge luxury. I don't like to use the word lucky. I like to say fortunate, because luck is like you roll the dice and it happens. Fortunate is like the stars aligned, but you did the work and were ready when they did.
Like you earned it. Yeah.
I earned it. Yeah. And the stars have to align though. So there is that bit that's always going to be up to whatever's out there, you know, the universe at work, everything at large. Like the time has to be right. You don't know when it's going to be, but when it happens, you better be fucking ready.
Hell yeah.
I was when my first opportunity came, and I was again when the next one came. As is the story of most people I know. There usually isn't, luck doesn't usually have sustainability.
True. You don't want to be that overnight success, as to say, because there's
and bye-bye, usually.
Yeah. And it's not really a thing, because when people may see you, just see you now, but they don't know the work that you've been doing in the back end or in the past. So there's that's like a thing that a lot of people don't usually see. It's like, oh yeah, you became a viral person today, but they didn't know that you've been doing the work for years. You know, it's a thing.
Yeah. The tip of the iceberg. You always only see the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely.
Everything that's below water isn't visible to the public, but you know, anyone knows.
That's true. Now, with all the success that you have right now, what's dream project for you?
You know, it's the same thing every time. I'm waiting for my big badass boxing movie. Boxing is my, you know, acting is my first love and boxing is my second love. And God, I just really, the things that I enjoy doing are the things that challenge me physically and emotionally as an actor. And, you know, I've had such a clear journey and decisiveness about where I want to go. And that's what's got me there. I made a choice that I wanted to be an action actor. That didn't just happen. So I learned all these skills in my military show and was super challenged on The Brave. And then I come in and learn all these skills as a firefighter. And then in season 2, they're like, you're going to on 911 and then season 2, they asked me to learn how to do roller derby. And so I had to train for, you know, 6 weeks. I would go after work. I would go as often as I could and learn a brand new skill that was super, super challenging to me, because this is all on my Instagram, but I was in a wheelchair when I was younger. And so I've overcome a lot with my actual legs, and balance isn't the easiest thing for me, but I love a physical challenge. So I rose to the occasion, I did it, and we filmed the whole episode with me, not with a stunt double. And those things make me so happy. So physical challenges, especially something that I'm good at, like boxing, just that is the dream. And there are so many boxing movies that could come and go, but I want to find that one. You only get one girl fight. You only get $1 million baby. You only get one, like Girl Fight is one of my favorite movies with Michelle Rodriguez. Like you get one of those opportunities to do that thing the way you want to do it. And I'm ready for my Rocky moment. You know, I'm ready for fight camp and training and acting and the stories of vulnerability. And I've said it before, like my kind of people I find in boxing gyms, because people who are in boxing gyms are always fighting for or against something. It's either, you know, fighting for the dream or against the bullshit, and those are my kind of people who show up and they have determination, they have heart, they're willing to sweat and give it their all. And it's you and you at the end of the day in boxing. You have everyone in your corner. You have your coach. You have everything you need in that corner. But once you step into the ring, it's you and you alone, which is life.
That's true.
You have your family, you have your friends, you have everyone. But when it's time for you to go out and, you know, face the world, it's you and you when you're making your choices about. So the big acting movie is the big dream. The big boxing movie, that's like, my eyes have been set on that for years. I'm waiting for the right thing and the right opportunity. And, you know, I keep putting it out there in interviews because I'm like, I'm going to manifest this. I'm going to manifest it.
You will. And yeah. I love that you're saying this, because this makes me excited as well. Because when you're telling that, I'm already imagining you in my head in this awesome boxing movie. So you're creating this. This is
great. determination,
Yeah.
overcoming, tenacity. Like those are words I want associated with me. And what happens on the flip side of that, right? The vulnerability, the depths of despair that it takes to become a tenacious person, to become someone who has grit and heart and, you know, whose roots are in the earth. How unbalanced and ungrounded you have to be in order to know that you need to have roots and to learn how to grow roots. I mean, that's the story of my life. So that's the big dream. And then anything other than that is usually like, I really do want to do other action things, other skills, learn new, you know, I mean, anything. I've been in the mix for so many different things and so many different kinds of auditions. And the things that I get really far at are always like the rock climbing movie, the skater movie, you know, it's always that physical element that I think I thrive in. So
I seen that you're just a natural badass.
yeah,
You're just such a natural badass.
I'm that though, like now, yes,
Mhm.
I wasn't always this way. And I think that's the thing that, like, as an actor, as a storyteller, like you have to be able to find it somewhere in yourself, the thing that you're portraying, even if it's not your permanent state of being. Have you felt that thing for a moment? Do you know what that thing is? Do you know what it feels like? You know, you can act a mother without having children, but do you know what it is to mother? Have you had a younger sibling that you looked after? Do you have a dog that's your like baby? It's about the feeling and the what happens inside and being able to translate that and put that in different places. And I have that thing in me. And not everyone does have it, of what it is to overcome, what it is to have to dig deep, what it is. And over time, that's become such a part of my personality. And I find it to be one of the things that I, as a human being, uniquely offer to roles or characters. But you know, it'd also be really fun to do comedy. When I first came out to LA, I had a general meeting with NBC, and it was my first ever like day or second day in LA. And they put me down as comedy.
Oh,
they had me fully pegged for a comedy actress, going to be in whatever new sitcom, whatever. And then when they got my audition through, the head of casting at NBC, when they got my audition through for The Brave, they were like, huh? She was the comedy girl. We had a meeting. We laughed for 40 minutes. Like, what are you talking about? And they watched it and I ended up getting cast. But so I forget that that's something I can do, or that I'm, you know, dry humor. I don't know about sitcoms. Don't close any doors. But yeah, that's something that's become so long forgotten because I've spent so much of my time just fortifying a badassery and authority. And so now I'm like, maybe, or some silly little Christmas movie.
You know, you could be a badass comedian. That's the thing, too. You can combine both.
That's definitely,
you know, there's action and then there's comic relief happening. You know?
Yeah, I think I'd be very good at that.
Do you think like your background contributes a lot to how badass you are right now?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
because you're what? You're Irish, French, Lebanese.
Lebanese, yeah.
And am I missing anything?
No, my dad's French Lebanese. My mom's Irish. I grew up in so many different countries. I grew up predominantly in the Middle East, but you know, I was born in Saudi Arabia. I lived in Jeddah, Jordan, Bahrain, Dubai. I also lived in Ireland, in London. So we moved around so much. I was so, you know, I spent so much of my life seeing different corners of the world, seeing different ways of living, seeing different religions, different cultures, different traditions. And what it does is it's such a equalizer. Nothing is better or worse for me. Everything's just different. And every individual chooses their path and their way of living. And I love tradition. I love culture. And I think seeing, you know, between moving from Dubai to Ireland and Bahrain to Ireland, like, it couldn't be more different.
You think it's different, but then if you really dig deep, it's not as different.
We're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all eating We're all looking for connection. We're all sleeping. We're all going out and looking for fun at the weekend, looking for love,
Yeah.
trying to build families, trying to follow dreams. We're all human. So I think the scope of the world and never believing that like my way is the highway, the world is enormous. I don't ever think that the country I'm in or the city that I'm in is indicative of the world, which I think is a huge problem for people who've been in one place their whole life. Through no fault of their own, it becomes like, this is the world. This is how things work. This is, it becomes insular.
Mm-hmm.
I know how far and how beautiful and how rich, and I want to travel every corner of the earth when I can, and I think moving a lot, you have to be resilient. You have to know what it is to start over. You have to, I didn't have much of a choice. I was a kid following my family around for most of it. Overcoming all the surgeries and things that I've overcome, and being in a wheelchair and being an outsider, and looking through the window and wanting to be in there all the time in the playground, or those things all shape who I am. Struggling with mental health, and everything that's been my journey has led me to be who I am. And that's why I can be a badass. So yeah, my upbringing and all the difficulties and all the joys that have, brought, all the good things and the bad things form who you are. And who I am is someone I really like now. And I think that helps a lot, being able to walk into spaces and be like, I like me.
Yeah.
I like what I've overcome. I like what I've learned. I like what I bring to the table. And if it's not right for you, that's okay. It's not personal for me.
And it genuinely flows out of you.
Yeah.
And I love that you're saying that. I love that you're saying that I like me, because whenever you step into the room, everybody feels it. You can't fake that shit.
Yeah. I used to hate taking photos. I used to think that like photos were like, ooh, because then I have to be me. Like when I'm acting, I'm someone else. I'm in front of the camera doing characters. I'm moving. When you capture me in a still, what if I look at it and don't see me? What if I look at some contorted version of me? What if it's unflattering? What if my opinion on that has changed so much, and I just find so much joy and fun in capturing a moment in time. That was me in a moment.
In that specific moment.
Yeah. Why do it have to be worth more than that?
Mm-hmm.
And in this place, I can have fun. This picture doesn't quantify me, and I used to struggle with that, and, imagery and the insecurity and the idea that there's a right way to look and a wrong way to look. And now I'm like, you know what the right way to look is? To look like me, because that's the only person I'm ever going to look like.
Yes, that's what it is.
You can take a photo of a million people. They won't look like me. Take a photo of me, I'll look like me. Cool. That's as much
really great way to put it. I mean, if you really think about it, just all boil it. You know what? To be fair, it takes skill to reach that point.
It does.
It takes a while to reach that mental state of like, hey, regardless of however I look today, I like you. I like you in the mirror. It takes a while to get to that place, but it's really nice once you hit that spot.
Yeah, I just think like when you start believing that how you look is the least interesting thing about you, you can have a really fun life. When it's the most interesting thing about you, that messaging is horrible to you and yourself, to your soul, to be like, what I look like is the most interesting thing about me. Means that who I am isn't interesting. What I offer, what I give, my energy, my soul, my spirit, it all means nothing. Let me just work on what I look like. No.
Also, this whole physical thing changes a lot. All the time.
I realized, I remember I was maybe 16 or 17 when I realized for the first time with such clarity, the only person who I am guaranteed to spend every day with for the rest of my life is me.
Yes.
So I better get to work on making me someone I like. And that journey's been 10 plus years, but I like me.
Great. It's an ongoing journey,
Yeah, and it will be going forever, but yeah.
All right, Natasha, here's my final question. If you were a book what book would you be and why? This is an open question. It could be a made up book, it could be an existing book, it could be a genre, it could be anything.
I'm like, I can't, my brain is too linear for like choosing an existing book. I'm
Or
like,
you could be
So I'm like-
something, anything you want. It's
Yeah.
no holds barred.
I think first of all, I'd definitely be a picture book. So lots of pictures and then some words. I'd be a picture book in a, I'd be a picture book that's like sitting next to a Brene Brown book on a shelf. So it would be like a picture book with inspiration and motivation and vulnerability in it, and just a reminder that it's okay to be human. Maybe the book would be called Human. A picture book called Human.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Placed neatly on a shelf next to like Brene Brown and, you know, Esther Perel and people who talk about relationships and vulnerability. And I don't understand the point in life without connection. I never will. So that's like my objective all the time, is to connect with people I do know, to connect with people I don't know, to connect in relation, like at the shop checking out, like at my store, I want to have a connection with the person who I'm checking out my groceries with. I want to be like, your hair looks nice, have a lovely day, and be like, oh, we're both humans. Yeah, I think the world can be so lonely, and if you don't choose a life of connection, you're almost destined to have crippling loneliness, whether you choose it intentionally or not.
Yeah.
So human.
I love that. Also a good reminder. A good reminder to just be human.
Yeah. Cool.
I love that. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much. I could talk to you for hours. I love this.